We were just in Dallas, outside of Dallas, and we called the place called the Ranch. And the instructor said that the reason people are poor is because they're farthest from the truth.
Yeah, that really hit me. The truth is what the truth is, period. And then you got people's realities, which is typically further from the truth. Not always, but the further from the truth you get, the poorer they are.
Yeah, so ever since the last couple of weeks, I see a poor person. I said, wonder what truth they're away from. There's something they're not seeing. And when I wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad 25 years ago, I said, your house is not an asset. I nearly got crucified on the cross for that one.
Yeah, nobody says it. Way ahead of the game.
Do you know what I mean? There's nothing worse than hanging out with a toad. No, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I told you real estate was bad, it crashed. Oh, I told you, I don't want to buy real estate because you have to clean toilets and all this stuff. I hear all of that stuff. But that's what we learned last week in Dallas. The poorer you are is because you're furthest from
the truth.
And when they tell you get out of debt, that's really not the truth.
Boy, it was interesting because remember we were down there with Dr. Nicole and she said, it's the same with health. The further you are from the truth around health, the worse condition you're in. So the truth, it's a very interesting thing, and the reality or your perspective or even your opinion can be very far away from the truth.
Right. And some of the truths, reason people are poor is, well, I don't have any money, I can't afford it. That is not true. That's your opinion of your measly little self.
What does that tell you?
Yeah. The farther from the truth you are, the poorer you are. And the biggest lie ever told is it takes money to make money. That is not true. Don't worry about being the skipper of the Titanic. I've been the skipper a number of times, but it's always a good swimming experience. That's how you get smarter.
Right.
And I won't say this much, I've never lost money in real estate. I got in trouble. But when you scramble and you do what you have to do, you get smarter and smarter and smarter. And you go, man, I'm really glad I got into this trouble because I got smarter. The reason I say that, the average person is drinking the Kool-Aid. They just go to school, get a job, save money, get out of debt, and invest in a 401k or an IRA. You don't learn anything that way. You don't learn anything. So by jumping in as an idiot investor, you get smarter pretty quickly, right, Kenny?
I love Buffett's quote. He's like, when the tide goes out, you see who's swimming naked. And the tide is going out right now, my friends.
And there's going to be a lot of opportunity.
Yep.
You can't leverage gold the same way you can leverage real estate, can you?
You're brilliant, man. I use real estate as leverage to buy this. So what I do is I'll borrow, let's say, $20 million. The cash flow buys this.
You're using government printed money for your own assets.
Buy this.
And then the income from the assets you convert into gold.
Yes.
We're in serious trouble. And when the bond markets collapse, so does the stock market collapse. It's going to be massive.
This will be the largest transfer of wealth we will ever see in the history of money.
And today we're talking about real money, not this garbage here, not this fake paper stuff. I just don't know why people work for this garbage. This is toilet paper. Why do people hang with the toilet paper? I don't know. Our program today is to kind of break people away from the idea that this is money. But anyway, they printed more money and we never heard about it just recently. They printed so much more of this trash just to prevent the banks, because there was Silvergate and Silverado, those banks were going down. They had to do something. So they basically took T-bills where everybody thinks are safe and they basically liquefied it. And now they're flooding the system more of this stuff. And the reason I'm on this point here is because I get into a lot of fights with friends and family and people like that, and they want to hang on to this. They want to save this at the same time the Fed and the Treasury are printing trillions. And we're hanging on to it. But I am Japanese, but also the Japanese are #1 savers in the world. And what do they save? Yen and T-bills, US T-bills. Japanese maybe get admitted to Harvard and Princeton and Yale, but they don't know jack about money because they save yen. I would never save yen. I wouldn't even use yen as toilet paper. That's how bad it is.
But we had $5.6 trillion worth of debt in 2000, on balance sheet debt. And now we're at 33 trillion. What happens to real money when that happens? If you go back to 2000, the gold market was trading at $275 an ounce. Silver was about $3.50 an ounce. We've added so much paper money, it's making the value of tangible assets worth much, much more. That's what people have to get wrapped around in their head. Every time they print more of this paper money, that becomes worth less and the tangible assets become worth more.
And right now, the next hot new thing is that AI, artificial intelligence. I did a talk at my friend Ken McElroy's event. Somebody said, what is AI? I said, a college degree. You don't learn anything about money. That was my poor dad, PhD. And I kept saying PhD is for poor, helpless, and desperate. And then you go see a financial planner who is only rewarded by selling you paper. The financial planner will not recommend gold or silver because they got no commission from it. Isn't that correct?
They don't want to recommend that, which is really sad because if we go back to 2000, I always use this example and some people agree with the time period, some people don't, but I like using long-term horizons. In 2000, if you would have invested $100,000 in the stock market, forgetting about dividends here for a second, today that'd be worth about $320,000. If you would have invested $80,000 in the stock market and $20,000 in the gold market, that's worth $385,000. You picked up $65,000 extra dollars in your bank account over that time period by investing just 20% in precious metals. Why? Because they print up more and more of the paper money, the fake money, and the tangible assets become worth more and more. Look, you've lived it. You started this a long time ago with your education about real estate and precious metals. Those are tangible assets that have appreciated in value. You would have done very well by owning those and gotten away from that paper dollar.
And as I've always asked people, what does school teach you about money? Answer is nothing. And that was not a mistake.
1991, silver was about $3.75 an ounce, got down to $2.75 an ounce. That's when Warren Buffett purchased a bunch of, the silver. And then here we are at $25 an ounce. So had a pretty good run.
And I still say to people, I talk to everybody about gold and silver because I don't save dollars. When I have extra money, I buy gold and silver and I keep it in a vault. 1 trillion seconds is 32,000 years. Think about that. That's the debt they record. There's also off-balance sheet debt, which is estimated.
The off-balance sheet debt is almost twice as big as the on-balance sheet debt, because if you add it all together, we're at $100 trillion. So if you add the Social Security and pensions and Medicare and Medicaid and all the off-balance sheet liabilities, our debt is much, much bigger. However, as more and more people retire, that debt will start to becoming on-balance sheet debt because you're going to have to borrow the money to pay those people, and then it switches over to the other side of the equation. So it's a scary situation and how far the dollar could fall if that happens.
And there's one more thing happens to Johannesburg, South Africa. The BRICS nations are meeting. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
What it means to me is that if they create this currency backed by gold, Robert, this will be the largest transfer of wealth between nations we will ever see in the history of money.
The BRICS were just 5 nations a while ago. They estimate by the time the meeting comes in, there may be 41 nations.
That's correct.
They're so pissed off at the United States ripping us off paying fake money. Even the BRICS nations are pissed off. But Americans? No, we have no idea. But the BRICS are pissed. And so they're going to join up and they're going to say, we're not going to take your piece of toilet paper anymore. What does that mean, Kevin?
Well, 2 things. I want to go back. Those 5 countries, if people don't understand who they are, you said it, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's 40% of the population of the world. 3.2 billion people is 40% of the population. Just those 5 countries. You start adding in more countries, where's the tipping point? You get to 50% or 60% of the people, the dollar's gone. But here's what it means to me with the transfer of wealth. Let's forget about the fact that there's a little bit of paper in this BRIC currency and we just use gold. Okay, I came from international banking, which you just asked me about, so I understand trade very well. The United States has almost, last year, a $960 billion trade deficit. If we were dealing just in gold, we were trading gold back and forth, I would have sent $960 billion extra dollars to a country that sent me toys, clothes, cars, everything that depreciates, and they ended up with almost $1 trillion worth of gold. So what happens to that currency? To have that currency, you need to back it by gold. That means there's going to be some gold demand, which probably pushes up the price of gold. It's backed by gold. It pushes up the value of that currency and it pushes down the value of the dollar. So my deficit keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I keep throwing more and more gold over to them and I have less. When it's paper dollars, nobody gets it. But you turn it into gold, or let's say I was trading real estate. Heck, the whole real estate market in the United States is worth $70 trillion. If I give $1 trillion to a different country of our real estate, that's 1.5% of our real estate. In 6 years, I've given 10% of our real estate away. That's what it means.
And they're going to sell a lot more Barbie dolls, from China. Yay.
Which will push up the trade deficit. Yeah, we paid $1 trillion extra for Barbie dolls and we gave them gold for Barbie dolls. It's crazy. It will be the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of nations if this thing goes through. The dollar, I heard you say it, the dollar gets repatriated back into the United States and inflation goes through the roof. Because paper means nothing.
Oh no, this cannot be happening.